Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Today, we are going to be talking about the man of the hour, Butch Hartman. So, if you grew up with any of the big three networks back in the day, Nickelodeon specifically, you'd know that Butch's first show, The Fairly Odd Parents, was Nickelodeon's silver show right behind The Golden Sponge. While Fairly Odd Parents was not the best Nicktoon, I can think of plenty of other Nicktoons that do hold up better, to be completely honest. For a while, Fairly Odd Parents had a charm to it unlike any other. Admittedly, some parts of that show have not aged too well. I mean, after what happened with Fairly Odd Parents later on, the show's
and then the opposite happens
humor does get noticeable to spot, even in its older seasons. But due to the fact that Fairly Odd Parents almost got canceled 5 times, the show repeatedly kept on finding new ways to regain high ratings by adding a new baby character named Poof, who was barely able to do anything for most of the series. Then there was Foop, whom, because of his presence, most of the anti-fairies kept on getting pushed to the side. Then there was Sparky, whom is just the show making the Itchy and Scratchy and Poochie show without any sort of self-awareness. And then there's Mary Sue Chloe, who was the final straw in the show's integrity, basically breaking the show's own continuity upon arrival, since in order to gain fairy godparents, the child has to be miserable, and Chloe is the opposite of miserable. Their only excuse for her receiving fairy godparents was that she sometimes makes mistakes.
See? I tried too hard to fix things and I end up annoying people, destroying cities, and then no one wants to be my friend!
Though, ironically, at least they do make the character better down in the season, but in the end they make her more annoying because she has the habit of yelling a lot. And Butch's other shows unfortunately met the same fate. Danny Phantom started off very strong, however, as soon as Steve Marmel left the show and Butch gained control over it, the show's writing fell off hard. That's because Butch Hartman only works whenever he has someone in his team to tell him, no, if you do it that way, it will turn out awful. Heck, Butch Hartman wasn't even the one who did the character designs on his shows. Steven Silver did that. And it's very easy to tell because I've seen some of Butch Hartman's artwork and they look awful. And with Tough Puppy, I remember liking it when I was younger, but not too many people talk about it, and the reaction is generally split down the middle, where some people like it while other people don't. And Bunsen is a Beast is one that I don't see anyone talk about either, but whenever it is, the reaction is very negative. After Bunsen, Butch Hartman left Nickelodeon to host a crowdfunding campaign for a streaming service named Oaxis. I could go into literally all of the controversies that Butch got into, whether if it's Butch Hartman scamming people out of their money while leaving people in the dark of what the streaming service was, to his view on autism, to even his tracing, which several people have caught on to, but Butch Hartman is not the focus of this review. Instead, that focus is on a movie based off of the cartoon that he tried getting people to pay over $200 to watch, which brings us into the topic of today's review, which is The Garden. More specifically, the movie, which, if you've been following the Butch Hartman lore, you'd know that back in 2020, Butch Hartman was charging his fans over $200 in order to watch this series named The Garden, and you'd think that for a show that he charged that much in order for people to watch, that it would be something of quality, except it's not. The show has sort of this Newgrounds feeling to it at every turn. The backgrounds and props directly look like clip art that you find on Google, and the character designs of the main characters, Lenny the lion and Lucy the lamb, do not look like a lion or lamb in the slightest, to the point where if someone else or even the characters didn't say that they were, I wouldn't be able to tell what they were. Being as honest as I possibly can, Lenny looks like he belongs more in a show like Wow Wow Wubsy or Yin Yang Yo than in something that was made by Butch Hartman, and considering the fact that Fairly Odd Parents has shown that they can have lions that actually look like lions, there is absolutely no excuse for this. And Lucy looks like a stick that has wool stuck all over it. Did they have a hard time drawing a real-life lion or lamb into the Butch Hartman style? I mean, the show itself has this chicken character that actually looks like a chicken in some form, so you have all of these other characters that somewhat resemble the animal that they're supposed to be, next to the main characters that have this breadwinners problem. But Butch himself should know better, because breadwinners was based on on a web short. Meanwhile, the garden is coming from a Nickelodeon veteran whom has a ton of episodes of his own shows that shows that he could have animals that are competently designed to look like the animal that they are. Heck, Tough Puppy is an entire show that is comprised of animals living in the same world. But the subject of this review is The Greatest Thing Ever, a garden cartoon movie. And yes, that's actually the title of this movie, I'm not even joking. And for the record, this movie is far from the greatest thing ever. But you might be wondering, why did I decide to also label this as a Sean's Network Reviews episode? Well, that's because of the fact that it's just like Beauty and the Beast, Belle's Magical World. This is not a movie. This is literally just a compilation of episodes of The Garden that masquerades itself as a movie. I could have gone the direction and also did the review of the Garden series, kind of like what I'm doing with Ben 10 2017, where depending on how much I have to say in regards to the movie compared to the show, that video would be separated into different segments / chapters, but because Butch Hartman is the genius that he is, he decided that instead of putting the episodes up on YouTube for people's convenience, he decided to charge people over $100 to be able to watch the series. And he thinks that we shouldn't think that's a scummy thing to do because he created our childhoods. I don't know about Butch Hartman specifically creating my childhood, because Fairly Odd Parents went through seasonal rot, Danny Phantom's final season was incredibly rough because Steve Marmel left the show, and Tough Puppy was given so many hiatuses from the network that it took them until 2012 for the first season to conclude, despite the fact that all the episodes of the first season were presumably completed by the time that the show started airing. I mean, Steven Hillenburg personally created my childhood because of the legacy that SpongeBob left behind, but that's really besides the point. And so, because of the fact that this movie wants to act as if it's a bunch of episodes of a show, I'm going to judge it as such. To get this off my chest right now, I'm not a Christian. I mean, I do believe in God, but I'm not super religious, so I'm not in the know about whether or not if this movie executes any of its religious themes very well, but given the theme of this entire franchise, you know exactly what the twist at the end of this movie is going to be, and who the characters say that the greatest thing ever is. And the plots of each episode is some of the most generic plot lines that you'll ever find. It has the fame getting to a character's head storyline, as well as the generic pet plot, where the pet ends up causing too much trouble for the main characters to keep, and a liar reveal storyline that also just so happens to be about racism. And those that don't do this are just straight up copies of episodes from other shows. The very first episode, at least in terms of this movie, is literally just a ripoff of the SpongeBob episode Arg, down to the fact that there's literally a sequence where the characters are arguing with the pirate character on who gets the treasure, but at least at the end of the SpongeBob episode, even though Mr. Krabs did not learn anything in the episode, he got properly punished at the end by only getting a plastic treasure chest. Meanwhile, SpongeBob and Patrick got gold doubloons. Meanwhile, Mr. Krabs' pirate alligator knockoff says that he's sorry for being greedy, only for him to reveal at the end that he's not actually sorry at all. But the second one is definitely the worst episode out of all of them, at least in terms of this movie, because I've never seen the Garden series. I may not be super religious, but Butch, doesn't the plot of this episode go against the Christian values that you want to teach the audience? Because even for a story that is essentially trying to be a fame gets to a character's head storyline, this one is very bad. Lucy in this episode tries to make an excuse for her behavior by saying,
I was just caught up with all this power that I couldn't think rationally about what I was doing.
Which is absolute nonsense, because she could have easily spoken up for her friend, given that she's in such a position of power to the point where if she were to tell the others to go easy on him, that they'd actually do it. Instead, she continually lets Lenny be miserable throughout the episode to the point where she was gonna be totally fine with letting Lenny's head be shaved, all because he ran out of pies and used a watermelon as a substitute. Which is what that was meant to be used for anyway. And she doesn't even get punished for this, nor does Lenny do anything to try and hold her accountable for this. And because this is a Butch Hartman production, be prepared to see a lot of the "and then the opposite happens" jokes, as well as one running gag be shoved down your throat multiple times in a short period of time. Like with this one deer character who frequently goes feral at the most inconvenient times, or in the 5th episode, when the characters are fighting this giant alien bunny, when they try to use their powers, they end up accidentally cutting off Lenny's hair, and they they end up saying, well, it's good for shaving hair, which is a gag that they use multiple times in a row. And it's honestly kind of ironic that I brought up Beauty and the Beast Belle's Magical World at the beginning of this video, because like that movie, this movie tries to pass itself off as a feature-length film by just combining several different episodes into one, but Belle's Magical World was supposed to be intended as an animated series, but it got rejected. Meanwhile, this was always what the movie was supposed to be like, which is honestly kind of ironic when you think about it, because the tagline being that this movie is the greatest thing ever is about as pretentious as Cartoon Network saying that Teen Titans Go is your new favorite show. But Butch Hartman would know that because he at one point made a reaction video to the Teen Titans Go movie trailer saying that the movie is the next emoji movie. But hey Butch, do you want to know what separates Teen Titans Go's movie from yours? Teen Titans Go to the movies had the decency to actually be a freaking movie. You, on the other hand, didn't even try to tell one narrative throughout the runtime. Heck, even Teen Titans Go's movie, while the animation is almost on the same level as the show, they did receive an upgrade in terms of the backgrounds. This movie didn't even receive an upgrade in the slightest. All of the backgrounds directly look like clip art with how incredibly generic and stock it looks, and there are certain frames that are just laughable because of how non-shaded they are, making it obvious that one of Butch's pieces of artwork was plastered into the movie. Getting up to the point where the still images that are used when Lenny and Lucy tells stories from the Bible look way better than the rest of the movie, which is just embarrassing. So overall, this movie is just awful. I don't know how I'd be able to judge the series in terms of Sean's network reviews, because like I said, I've never seen The Garden, and I doubt that I'd be able to do so anyway, because Butch has made the show virtually inaccessible, and there's no way that I am paying over $200 in order to watch a watered-down version of what you could get from a show like VeggieTales, even though I haven't seen much from that show either. But one thing's for sure, Beauty and the Beast Belle's Magical World could be given the defense that it was supposed to be an animated series first before a movie. Meanwhile, Butch combined 6 episodes into one film and was actually proud to see that this embarrassment was being screened in a theater, meaning that he's arrogant enough to believe that this thing was actually good enough to be released in theaters when that's not even close to being such. Heck, this is not even passable by TV standards. When the live-action Fairly OddParents movies, which aired on Nickelodeon, are more close to resembling an actual movie than you do, you know that there's something seriously wrong.
Coming up, it's...
Can the Loud family reverse the curse? Find out in a Loud House Christmas movie, Naughty or Nice. Friday, November 21st. On Nickelodeon.
Everything